We'll get started. Roll call, please, Jen.
Mike Dolson.
I'm here.
Tom McDonald.
Here.
Jennifer Finley. Here. Jim Molitor. Tara Langford. Danielle Matt. She's running late. Bing Matt. James Steele Jr. Martin Charlo.
Present.
Len Tooties. Lenice Trahan.
Thank you, Jen. Jennifer, would you give us a prayer this morning?
Today I pray for blessings for everyone for the new year, that everyone has a good 2025 filled with prosperity and love and joy. And I pray for anybody who is sick or alone, that they get well and that they may be comforted. And I pray for all the children on our reservation, that they may be protected and safe, and that we all bring good hearts to our work today for the people who are alive now and the generations yet to come. Lem Lemsh.
Thank you, Jennifer. With that, we're ready for the flag song. Lamb Lumstrom. Jennifer, do we have any elders signed up to speak? Any elders that would like to say a word? Well, we'll go directly into our council updates then, and Tom, can we start with you today?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for coming today. I want to, of course, wish everybody the best for 2025. I am glad to put 24 behind us, and I look forward to great things for our tribes, our people, our entire communities for this upcoming year. This past quarter, again, we spent some time on some community improvement projects, skate parks, trying to bring in a few more grants for other things. I spent some time on some Buffalo topics, from the Interagency Bison Management Plan Partners Group in Yellowstone to creating a national workshop coming up next spring for American bison, and spent some time on Native American philanthropies, trying to bring more funding to Indian country. Spent some time on the boundary water issue we have, at least one of them. There's a couple of them we have going on, the Columbia River Treaty, which is a bigger hydropower issue, and management of the rivers, and then mining issues in Canada coming across our border and polluting our water stream in the Kootenai River. Spent some time on that also, and then spent a little bit more time on the cleanup of the Columbia Falls aluminum plant, Superfund site. So we spent some extra effort on that also, which isn't over. Also participated in a couple of workshops for Public Law 280, or how we can strengthen our position and service to our members that are suffering from addiction and mental health and law enforcement, and how we can move forward in a positive way that way and serve our people the best way we can. And I guess that's probably all I'll say right now. But it's been a pleasure. I've had a couple of surgeries, and I again want to thank my colleagues for stepping up and helping me out. Just so you know, I've been a pretty good dental patient, kind of, Gary, for you. But I am a bad patient. I really am. I'm not good, and I don't follow doctor's orders very well. So I had one surgery, and they had to do it over again because I'm a bad patient. And I don't pass out on. I still want assistance of tribal health to pay the bill, but I do have some health insurance that helps with that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Jimmy?
Thank you, Chairman. Council, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Glad you all came today. Thank you for the honor song. It's been pretty quiet quarterly for me. I just worked on all the things that council together work on, every day, daily basis stuff. Some of the things that I like to focus on is the helping with the people with their housing, with their need issues. So there's a lot of housing issues that I really worry about. Things that are happening now are just, what are people going to do? It's the wrong time of the year for these kind of things to come up, but these are things that I like to focus on. And I think that as a council, we need to try to figure out ways of getting housing for people that what are they going to do? They lose their home. They're not going to be able to afford to rent anything. I don't know what we can do with them. We have to try to figure something out. But that's been my focus, and it's probably going to stay my focus for the rest of the time that I'm on here. And I appreciate all of you folks being here, and so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Bing?
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank the drum for their honor song this morning that they sang. They always do a great job when they sing that song, and it's good to hear them do that. I want to thank Jennifer for the prayer this morning too, to lead us off here this morning. It's been a real quiet quarter for me. I attended the Intertribal Timber Council meeting over down in San Diego in December. And, Jim Sturglow was along with us down there on that trip, and also Sean DeFrance. The three of us went down there. A lot was covered over that last 3 days that we were there. A lot of timber issues that are coming up, funding issues that are available and whatnot. But that group of people are really a intelligent bunch of people, and I really enjoy working with them guys because, you know, like I stated, there's so much intelligence there amongst that group of people, and they work with the whole every tribe in the United States that I believe is represented within that council. But you know, you learn a lot from them guys because, like I say, some of them got a lot of years in that Intertribal Timber Council, and you really learn a lot from them people with the knowledge and all that they have. Mr. Durglow is one of them. He has a lot of intelligence with timber and what's going on with that Timber Council, because he's a member of that too. But, you know, dealing with a lot of other things goes this year. We've been having lots of deaths here at home, you know, and it's really hard on families, and especially this time of year, you know, that we losing people through the holidays and whatnot. It's really rough on everybody, you know, and then it's hard for them to celebrate Christmas and New Year's or whatever when something like this happens. And all not just for the holidays, it's for the whole year, because that individual is not there with you anymore, you know. So it's kind of hard to deal with losses like that. Carol attends a lot of these wakes and whatnot, you know, and it's good to see her there all the time, you know, with the prayer group that's she sits with there and does the prayers. It's good to see her there. But like I stated, you know, it's been a quiet quarter. You know, we've been doing a few things up here that trying to get through it as best we can, I guess, like Tom was saying there. You know, it's just glad the year's over. You know, looking forward to a new year, and hopefully that things are going to be better. But with the new president and whatever else we got coming in, it might be a little workout for us up here. So, you know, it's just an idea of kind of listen or what's happening with the election, you know, and kind of scary, you know, for a lot of us, you know, and we just don't know what's going to happen yet. But hopefully everything will work out well, you know, and we can go ahead and go on about our business and do what we have to. And I want to thank you all for being here, you know, today and listen to what's going on and listen to you folks too, what you got to say too. So I want to thank you. Limlims.
Thank you, Bing. Jennifer?
So one of the things that we've been working on is learning more about how to best advocate for the continuation of Medicaid and Medicaid expansion. So that's something that we're taking very seriously as leadership, and we understand the importance of that and how catastrophic it would be if Medicaid and Medicaid expansion went away. And I don't have the date in front of me, but there are going to be a couple Medicaid rallies coming up at the state capitol. So those would be really important things for anybody who's interested in Medicaid, or if you know anybody who's on Medicaid, or somebody who's been disenrolled. Tribal Health has been really wonderful and great about getting people re-enrolled. So contact someone at Tribal Health to get through the process. If you know somebody who needs help getting re-enrolled in Medicaid, that's really important. So I've been attending the state economic development meetings in Montana. And every time I attend those meetings, the STED Commission, I always do my best to bring back opportunities for tribal members. And so whether it's grant opportunities for small businesses, you know, I always forward those to individuals who I think would benefit from that. And then I bring back grant opportunities and forward them to departments. And then I've been part of the Red Shield 8 group with Patty Hibbler. And that is a group that is going to establish a regional Native American treatment facility in Montana. And that is going to be in Great Falls on land donated by the Little Shell tribe. So they have been extremely generous in that. And at our last meeting, we looked at schematics for the plans for the building. So that's really exciting. And then I've also been participating in justice roundtable meetings that we've had for our tribe. And one thing that I thought was really interesting is we invited the former chairman of the Lummi tribe here, and he talked about the Icelandic prevention model. So Lummi has been traveling to Iceland, and people from Iceland have been traveling to Lummi. And I can't remember the exact statistics, but I think in Iceland, over 70% of their youth were using drugs at one point. And they initiated a really aggressive prevention model and took it down to less than 5%. And so Lummi is going to implement that model. And so it was really interesting to have a tribal person come here and talk to us about that, for us to think about how we can do prevention more aggressively here. And I've also helped orchestrate some community funds from the tribe to a playground project in Polson that's going to be built. And the playground will be very special. There's one that's going to be in Ronan, and it will have culturally relevant play equipment, and it will incorporate native language in the playground. So that'll be a really nice addition to Polson. And so those are some of the things that I've been working on. Lunch.
Thank you, Jennifer. Martin?
Limps Chair, Hesquex, Pesia, thanks for everyone that's here today. This is kind of the time of the year that we kind of hunker down and focus on what's ahead of us for the year. Thinking of my friends and relatives in the north. Prayers for safe travels for everyone to and from. Everyone that went to mission as well. Yeah, our communities are really in a kind of a rough place right now, and so I'm just hopeful for a positive year. We'll have a skate park opening sometime in the spring. Opening up our AIS boat check stations. And the biggest thing I think Bing mentioned the change in our White House. We really need to be more unified as a tribe or tribes, however you want to look at us. But no matter what, we're together. And it feels like the way the country's going, the division there is kind of reflecting upon us. And it's something we really got to think about and think about how we're going to attack this next year, how we're going to fight back. Because there will be challenges to a lot of things that we do. And so the things that we do in the next few months kind of lay the path for our future. And I'm thankful for the snow to cover our tracks from this past year. And I really hope that, you know, the people that are continuing our culture and our language and our true identity and how we are unique and how we are a sovereign nation within this country, those are the things that we really got to focus upon and look forward to teaching and empowering and really stepping up and teaching the next generation what we know. But on the flip side of that, you know, don't be afraid to ask. You know, that's probably one of the harder things to do, is either just start showing up or ask questions, learn. And so, you know, just show up, I guess. And we've had a lot of people that have learned our culture and our ways just by doing that or just being present. And so I hope in 2025, going forward, we can think of that and not be a reflection of what the government that is around us is turning to and the division and everything that is there. So prayers for everyone for 2025. Prayers that are answered in a way that they're meant to be, not always the way that we want. And just prayers for our friends and families, our enemies, and everyone in between. One much.
Thank you, Martin. Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council and distinguished membership. First, let me start by thanking each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day here to be with us today. As I've said over and over, it tells me who I work for. I never forget that. You know, it's been it's kind of been a tough year for all of us. You know, we all lost a lot of loved ones, and this holidays are always tough for people. And it's just that time of the year. So let's try to help each other out, lift each other up during this time. And you know, there's been a lot of issues that we've been addressing here at council, and I know one of many issues that I feel very strongly about is tribal employment. I've been a strong advocate for our membership to try to get working within our tribal organization, and it's just one of those policies that we need to continue to review and look at, because sometimes it's not fair. But I just once again, I just want to thank you guys all for being here today, and you guys all have a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. Carol?
Yes, Wex, good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. Last couple of nights I spent at the jump dances in Elmo, and it's been empowering and kind of gives me strength this morning. So when I hear the drum, makes me feel really good. So thank you for that. Plan on going again tonight, and it was good to see Jordan Thompson there. Thank you, and your bright shirt. Loved it. Need to see more, but that's not my decision. So anyway, everybody's mentioned that the skate parks which have been an exciting addition to our communities, and I want to thank this council, first of all, for really recognizing the importance of giving our children something to do. And I hear more and more, you know, like last year or the year before, it was like, okay, we got to do more for the elders. Well, for some reason this year it seems to have taken off that it's time to do stuff for our children. And Jen talked about, playground, and yeah, we're gonna have a playground in Ronan, an addition, and there's a lot of money coming in for that. We still have some money to raise. Skate parks in, and then also a pickleball court, so we're looking excited for that. So there's something for a family to do, not just children, not just little kids, but everybody will have their part. And then also at the Tribal Health Building, there is a fitness center, so it kind of fits all together in that little community area there by Tribal Health. The other thing, I attended a White House summit recently. It was in November, and President Biden and Vice President Harris was there, and they talked about all the accomplishments that they did throughout the last 4 years, and a lot of things have been completed, a lot more that could have been done. But I think one of the main things is the appointment of Secretary Hagelin. I think that was huge for tribes across the nation to see that they will appoint Native people to those high offices, and it was just a godsend because she came here, and I tell you, she was so impressive, and I really appreciated her ability to take care of things and get things done. And of course, they're not everything gets done, but you try to do your best. So appreciative of that. Recently, we lost Malia Kip, who is a member of the Blackfeet tribe and was one of the, I believe, the first Lady Grizz, Native American, and she passed away. And I just wanted to mention her name because she was a good friend, and we talked quite often. And you know, she had struggles and stuff, and it was really sad to hear that we lost her. And I don't know, I needed to report this to the council. I was able to help Randy out with some assistance. I know he'd asked a couple of councils, so there was some assistance for them to go to Browning and the family and all of that. The other thing that, like Jennifer mentioned, Medicaid expansion, definitely a big, huge issue, and we need to fight for it because if we lose it, we can lose hospitals, and then we're talking local hospitals, and it could be a big impact on us and our third-party revenue and everything that we do here. You know, we've got some major clinics going on, and we need to make sure they stand up and we continue with them. And I want to also mention a person that I didn't even recognize, Dr. Burke. You know, this guy came into his position, and I was so impressed with him. He made me make sure that my little guy's teeth is brushed every day. And, you know, I go in there, take him in every 3 months, and, you know, he'll let you know if it's not being done because children's health is so important. And I tell you, the teeth are number one. I've lost a few back in my day, so I know how important it is, but I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Burke. I know having I think it's a pediatric position in that area really helps. And I tell you, Mr. wouldn't even go in there at first, but then he got used to him. So just really appreciate all the work that the dentistry and tribal health and Tracy Plassis, and I see a few others back there. I just, you know, you guys work hard, and just appreciate all that you do for our people. And one thing I wished we could work on is the phone system down there. I tell you, it's a little maddening at times, and I've heard some complaints, but I think everybody understands. So I probably yelled enough. So anyway, thank you all for coming. It's nice to see all of you, of course, and really appreciate the superintendent being here and all of the executives and department heads who are here. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Carol. Danielle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Esquext, good morning. Gosh, going last, they've covered almost everything, right? But it's been a busy quarter. Of course, the PL 280. Hoping that we can get a Wellbriety conference set up for this year. We've asked the executive team to make sure we have that and really celebrate recovery for our people. A huge thanks to NARS for the work they're doing in our communities. Big things, the name change. That was really, really good, I think, for our small town down there. It's had some pushback, but mostly positive things coming out of it. Pushing for healthy communities. want to thank Carol for the skate parks. When they said skate parks, I really didn't think that we would get one, and we didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have an outhouse. We didn't have a street light. We didn't have some of the things that they required for us to have. And thank the council for allowing some more of those ARPA funds to come to our community so that can be possible for us this coming year. Working still with the MMIP task force, really pushing for prosecution. That's something that's not happening. Is there's a lot of lack of prosecution in our MMIP cases, and still trying to overcome some of those jurisdictional boundaries. Our homelessness population. Thank you, Jimmy, for your continued work on that as well, because we see it in all of our communities, and I'm really grateful that we've got the position advertised now, and hopefully we can get somebody in there as a homelessness coordinator and help our community members get healthy and find some stability in life. Really looking forward to that, because there are people and we can't leave them behind. Yes, as long as we can assist people and not enable them, I think we're in the right direction. Enrollment is something that I don't think we've hit on up here. We're still waiting for the enrollment committee to come back in with their, what do you say? What am I looking for here, Len? What is it? Yes, with the information. So we can't really speak too much on it until we have the information back from that committee. So hopefully we have that soon, and we have more information to give all of you as far as enrollment goes. Let me check my notes and see if I missed anything. And the hard work that Tribal Health is doing to type 2 outpatient addictions treatment. We've purchased Flathead Lake Inn up there in Polson, and I know that Tribal Health is really working hard to get that operational and things in place. I don't know how far out that is, but getting some more services for addiction here on the reservation, I think it's a great thing. So, yeah, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I believe James is sick today. I didn't see that he was online, so I'll give a slight addition to what we have. I don't have a lot to add. Gotta say, my quarter was actually a little happy because 3 years worth of work on the Progress Act finally came to fruition. And I gotta say that it's been an education participating in federal rulemaking and working with the federal government and finding out how frustrating that absolutely is. Just absolutely frustrating. Every step of the way, deal with the federal government. And we've had a lot of fun with governments over the time period that we deal. Another task I've been participating in is watching the United States argue and negotiate the Columbia River Treaty with Canada. And I thought our federal government was hard to deal with. Then I got to see what happens when you deal with Canadian federal government. That was even worse. It's amazing. But we're making headway. Columbia River Treaty should be updated hopefully by next year. And I'll conclude with we're going to be dealing with the Montana State government again. We have another legislature coming up, and I thought I'd just give you an idea of some of the things we'll be dealing with. We already know there will be a bill to provide funding for the enforcement of Public Law 280, so we'll be looking at that again. A bill to allow Fish and Wildlife Commission to issue deer and elk hunting licenses to private landowners within the Flathead Reservation. We'll be dealing with that again. To quantify Flathead Basin water flow and lake levels, fighting over water always. There's a resolution to maintain Flathead Lake at full pool. Again, something we'll have to deal with. A bill to generally revise allocation of money for Public Law 280. and a bill to repeal legislative and state approval of our water compact. Just to let you know a few of the things that we'll be dealing with in the coming future with the Montana government. So, gotta say, working with government is frustrating. So, with that, I'll end by saying, remind everybody, I do have district meetings the last Friday of every month in Hot Springs at the Indian Senior Center. So don't hesitate to come down, and my phone number is always in the Charcusta available. So, thank you all. That brings us to the position in the agenda for the honor song. Well, thank you, Drum. With that, we'll take a short break until 10 o'clock, and we'll pick up with tree removal with Steve McDonald, and we'll have a report on Medicare B, the eye and dental updates, and water rights and dog ordinance will be next with legal, and we'll finish up with a report on the ARPA fund and how it's getting spent. So we'll take a break till 10 o'clock. We'll come back, call the meeting to order, and get a report on tree removal. Morning, Stephen.
Good morning. Are we ready to go, or are you gonna hold off? Or
I think we just keep it rolling forward.
keep it going?
Yeah.
Okay. So, good morning, council. Good morning to the people online. Good morning to the people in the audience. I want to say good morning to my fellow champion over here, Gene Sorrell. For your information, we were the 2024 Mission Mountain Country Club champions this year, so just want to put that out there.
Someday you guys are gonna have to quit cheating on your scores.
That's what Tony says. So I was invited here by the council and the executive team to come and give you guys a little update on what we put in the notes here was a tree removal, but more accurately, it should be called the hazard tree removal. And this is a program I think came from ARPA money. All I know is that Tony and Greg Spar came to me about 6 weeks ago and said, we got $500,000 to spend on tree removals around for tribal people. We need to get something put together quick because we got to allocate this money. We got to get it allocated so we can spend it and we don't lose it. So we put a quick, fast effort into that. We put out an RFQ, a request for quotes. Probably more appropriately, we should have called for a request of qualifications, but it worked out. We put out this request through the Charcusta and through the Indian Preference Office to all the contractors who had the ability to remove danger trees or hazard trees from around properties. It's a specialized set of skills. The only entity I know that's a tribal entity that does it on a regular basis is MVP, and they remove trees for their power line maintenance. They have the skill set, the equipment, and the knowledge on how to remove some of these type of trees. But through this process of putting out this RFQ, there were quite a few tribal member entities that had that skill set also. We ended up getting 3 applicants put in for consideration for doing this kind of work, and we accepted 2 of those. So right now, I would like to have more. I had several inquiries after the fact that they would like to participate in this program, so I'm going to be putting out another request for qualifications for some more tribal membership people to come in and provide this service. I think we get more people that want to provide this service, we're going to have a larger skill set and then a lot more people to do the work. And in the plus side of that, with a little more competition, because how we're doing this is we're going to try and get our biggest bang for our buck. We have a limited amount of money that's in this account. We want to see if try and get to as many hazard trees as we can. Right now, with just word of mouth, we've already got like 16 applications for services. We're probably going to be putting out an advertisement soon into Charcusta for offering these services and how people can proceed to fill out an application. We'll receive the application. I got my permits manager, Alan Bunce, who is kind of overseeing this project at this point, and he's going out evaluating these sites, these home sites, these people's homes, and trying to evaluate which are the most immediate needs for this hazard tree removal service. So we're looking at probably putting out around 6 projects to these 2 contractors that we do have, letting them go out, take a look at the project site, come back with a price of how much they would do this for, and then we're trying to try and work out our biggest bang for our buck. We got limited amounts. $500,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when each individual tree can cost anywhere between $1,000 and $5,000, it doesn't go very far. We're not just knocking the tree down or bringing the tree down. We're also removing the limbs and branches, removing the tree slash. We're not going to be out there raking up the needles or anything like that. That's landscaping. We are going to remove the bulk of the material that comes down from that tree. So far, it's been a real interesting project. We have the money allocated and we're ready to go. So I would imagine, you know, after this holiday period, things are kind of crazy. Things are going to settle down here next week. We're going to start putting out projects for those contractors and putting out another RFQ and then an ad for people to request these services. So I guess that's kind of in a nutshell. I don't know if anybody has questions. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Steve, for coming in. And I want to thank the staff for facilitating this program for what I consider a tremendous need, given the wind events that have been happening in the past and the forecasted wind events in the future. So it's critical to be able to make sure our houses are safe, our membership, and if they have a tree that might jeopardize that, and have a program that might assist them with that is a great thing. I think it's a great service. As I consider the events just recently, like in Missoula, the wind event that happened this summer, and the wind events we've had here recently, the other day it was 67-mile-an-hour winds in Ronan, and my 1900-year-old, well, extremely old house was just a rocking and rolling in that wind. My question, Steve, is it possible to make the dollars stretch a little bit farther? I mean, trees are great. So, I mean, really, folks out there, if they're considering they have a hazardous tree that might fall on their house in a wind event, or it's just an old tree that's dying and needs to be removed, and you don't have that capability yourself to deal with it, this program is a good one. But each tree is a very valuable resource for cooling, for fighting carbon buildup, and it's really important to be able to try to save trees if you can. So I know in some of the programs around different cities, they'll have an arborist really look at the tree. It might be a questionable tree, like say Alan's doing. Is there a possibility just to do some thinning in that tree? You know, like say it's a Doug fir, it's got a couple really bad mistletoe brooms. Is it possible just to remove those to help reduce the wind friction and keep the tree? Is that going to be part of the program?
Currently, we're focusing basically on trees that are threatening lives, houses, and property in that order. If there's a tree that we feel is large enough and dangerous enough and has a possibility of impacting the house with people in it, those are going to be our priorities. And that's regardless, as long as it's a tribally owned house, as long as it's a tribal member, whether it's on fee land, allotment, or trust, or whatever ownership, those are going to be our focus, is removing those trees that are a danger. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if we're going to get 100 applications in the next month or two. Maybe we don't. And then we can start looking at maybe possibly addressing some of those kind of needs. The one thing I don't want to get into is, these trees grew up and blocked my view of the missions. That's not a danger tree. We want to make sure that we're addressing those trees that have a danger element to them. That's kind of our primary. And then once we get a feel for how things are going, then we can maybe broaden that scope a little bit.
Thank you, Steve. I know of half a dozen trees to suggest already, so.
Well, if there's no more questions, I wish everybody a Happy New Year, and I'll be around. Give us a call at Forestry. We got an application form there. We'll probably put it online at some point. We're kind of still just developing this, so it's moving along fast, but I think we're going to be able to provide services here pretty soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve, and Happy New Year. Well, our next report is on Medicare B, eye and dental update. And I know Joe's not here, so come on up, Joe's staff. Happy New Year, Tracy.
The red light's important. So as part of Joe's staff, thank you for having us here today. And I am here to address Medicare Part B rollout, which has taken a little longer than we would have liked, I think, for everybody involved. At this point, we are ready, as we can be, to roll out the reimbursement program. We have set up a way to make the initial premium payment for those that have had Medicare in place for 2024. That initial transaction date is scheduled to be in early May, so that it doesn't conflict with other things that finance and accounting handle. We have a rollout schedule for January. We will make additions and subtractions and changes to that as we learn how we get responses. We are ready to mail the letter to all of the identified individuals from enrollment. That number is 925 people. We are still data mining through the tribal health computer system because we have yet to identify all of our under 65 recipients of Medicare. And to Jennifer's point earlier about the importance of the Medicaid expansion and that continues, those people, because they are under 65 and qualified due to disability, very often are also Medicaid eligible, which makes them dual eligible. And so what you're talking about is some of our most elderly and most sick tribal members who are going to be compromised if they actually sunset Medicaid the way they're speaking of. So we are certainly actively involved in that. Also, to your point, the rally that you referenced is going to be January 15th at noon on the Capitol steps. It would be good for everyone in the state of Montana for that to be a far more impressive turnout than they're expecting. There is another event that happens later in the month that is more closed door. It happens within the Capitol building, and it is for those of us that work professionally in that space. They will not be talking to the general public during that. So the 15th is important. If there are questions, we can do that. I also have copies of the documents that we will be both mailing out and have for pickup regarding our schedule and other things of that nature. We have a dedicated phone line for the rollout. Someone mentioned earlier the phone system. I feel your pain. The phone number is 275-2808. It is unmanned, but it has an outgoing voicemail message for them to leave their name and phone number and which event they would like to attend. We don't expect to get 100% of RSVPs, but we would like to know going in whether or not we should bring supplies for 20 people or 200.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
So if somebody calls tribal health and they need to get re-enrolled in Medicaid, who do they speak to? Who would they ask for?
They can say something as vague as, I need to talk to somebody about Medicaid.
Okay.
And everyone at Tribal Health knows how to route those to a degree. Whether or not they end up in Patrice Kayai's program or mine depends on some ancillary information that if patient registration or somebody that just answers the phone tries to ascertain, they end up being on the phone for a very long time and it doesn't always go very well. So it's better to just drop them into one of our programs and we will sort that out. The number I've just given you is specific to the rollout for the Medicare Part B reimbursement. So we have documents ready to be put up on both the Tribal Health website and CSKT's website to help people get to the events as we have them scheduled. The outgoing message is ready, and I had the distinct pleasure of doing a video training for our Tribal Health group, all of the frontline people. It's about 3 minutes. We're trying to save their sanity because we know that once these letters get mailed out, people are going to call until they find somebody to answer the question. So we are trying to give everybody at Tribal Health some defense for that. So everybody knows how to get them to the right phone number so they get the answers they need.
Well, thank you, Tracy. This is
Thank
an
you.
awesome program.
It is.
I'm so glad to see it really happen, and I know Tom really pushed hard on this. So,
He did indeed, but we're
Is
going to
there-
forgive him for that.
is there any other questions for Tracy? Glad to see it happening. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Yep, thank you, you too.
Dr. Pitts, welcome.
Good morning, Lynn Lynch. Mr. Chairman, very honored to be here to visit with you. I know there's been some questions about some of the changes that we're making. We're very excited about the opportunity to cover the costs. Before, a patient had to pay the lab bill for a crown or for a denture. We now cover those. Joe has opened up that door for us, so it's been really, really exciting. The unfortunate thing is, nope. Okay, is that the top of my head? That's okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. So, in the handout that I think everybody has a copy of it. This one. Because I sent it. Pardon? How do I forward that?
It's on there. They can see it right now.
You can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you. So our biggest focus, as we all know, is children. And that's why I brought Dr. Burke to introduce him to all of you. We're very, very fortunate to have him on board. He's also in charge of community health. So our services for kids in the community expand into the community as well. The thing that really, really excites me, in fact, I was talking with Martin at the break. I started at Fort Peck 46 years ago. And the word was, well, yeah, can you fix that? Well, I'm not sure. I'll just pull it, because, yeah, she's got dentures. I mean, it was just a mindset that it kind of permeated, and we all know. I mean, I started in Dixon with Arnold Dupuy and Rose Klein down at the agency at the old gym. So some of you guys are kind of young, but That was IHS. When I look at what we have today and where we're going, today, Dr. Burke, we have 100 kids a month that are cavity free. That's what it's about. And aside from that fact, probably just as important, we were talking about changes in that mindset. Dentures, I'm seeing a decrease in dentures because we have patients that are keeping their teeth. That's exciting to me, okay? 100 kids a month have their pictures taken and put on the board. And every one of them now, thanks to you, appreciate that, are funding a show ticket for every child that is cavity free. And I twisted Gary Dupuy's arm and they throw in a bag of popcorn. Now, it seems like not a whole lot, nothing major, but when you see families coming in and there's 3 kids getting their examinations, getting some work done, and they're all lined up waiting to see if everybody in the family is going to be cavity free. That's a major change. That's what we're trying to do. And just like with all the other health issues that we've talked about in our tribe is taking that responsibility. Those parents are standing there. Those yayas are helping those kids. But they're not only helping the kids, but they're helping themselves. So for me, that's a real exciting thing. The other part of our community health program that Dr. Burke is overseeing is we have a lot of elders out in the community, in nursing homes, assisted living. I know what's not happening, but if we're there knocking on the door, which we do, we even clean their teeth, or we adjust the dentures, or we get them in if we see problems. They're not going to call us, but they will come if we open that door for them. So we're really, really excited about that element as well. Our emergency services, I remember we've talked about that before, and I was sharing with Bing, I had a gentleman that walked from Hot Springs, showed up at 8 o'clock, started at 3 in the morning. I felt so terrible. It was a cold morning. And he definitely had a problem, but he didn't want to wait to call Deb King. You know, we've got a nurse there in Hot Springs for that transportation. And so obviously we took care of that. He was not on our walk-in list. You just got to take care of people. But we have another person now that's committed. Hadn't seen him for 8 years. And he'll be back next week, and we're going to do some restorative work and remove a tooth very gently. My nickname is Painless Pits. So our removable appliances, dentures, we worked with Tribal Paid Care, and we have a contract now with a lab that we've worked with for many years. Phil at Bill's Dental Lab. And so those costs are covered as well as partials. So we're very excited about that opportunity, especially for that age group. Generally, those are going to be more for the elders, older people. Once in a while, we'll get a meth case. Those are the things that are really hard to deal with. You got to support them. You know what's going on. And I mean, I've lost two friends that I grew up with to that stuff. It just breaks your heart. But I see it. And Joe Durglow, if he was here, instead of going down to Frisco, he would tell you, Dr. Pitts always says, dental is the portal to healthcare. I see more men in dental than would go into see a physician. And it gives me the opportunity. We do blood pressures on everybody. We do blood sugars on diabetic patients. We do a lot of that education, so we have that opportunity, plus the referrals that we get. The crowns and bridges, that $200 lab fee is now covered. We still have to be careful because we just don't have the staffing. Dr. Burke was the first additional dentist that, since I came back in, I can remember, 10, 15 years. Yeah, Carol? Oh, okay. So we're very excited about that. We have, traditionally, it's a patient that's come through the system. We now have 4 hygienists, which is astronomical for a tribe. Trying to get 2 more. We have changed this mindset that, hey, if we take care of them and we clean them and you get your fillings done and we can start doing crown and bridge work, which is very necessary. And those are the hard decisions that we have to make. Because I've got some patients that might need 8 crowns. Well, that's 3 appointments. I can't afford to do 24 appointments for one person. We have to spread that out, and we have to do what's from an ethical, professional standpoint, but the ability to chew and all that kind of good stuff. So, but we're really making strides in that. We saw 11,000 patients last year. Is that? As many of you know, we've got an incredible staff. And those things take time to put together a team, and we were just talking about that. The feedback when I get from patients out in the community saying, well, you know, that's the friendliest group. I don't mind going there anymore. We're making that kind of headway. One of the scary things for me, though, we have 3 new dental clinics going into Polson. Can you believe that? And one's a children's dentist. He's built right there on the corner, across from the golf course. And guess who they're knocking on? Whose doors? They need staff. Oh, we'll give you $5 more an hour than what the tribe's paying you. So it's a real crazy world out there right now. Same thing with dentists. I've had an ad for an opening over a year. However, I will share with you, I think I might have twisted somebody's arm that might be coming back that is going to help us. But that's how it happens. I mean, I've had ads out. You just can't find dental assistants. And so we got to work hard to meet those needs. So I may be coming to ask for a little more increase in some salaries, and it's crazy. Don't get me wrong. It's just what? But that's the competition that we're dealing with. And it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm aware of that and talking with my staff and trying to meet them. And the majority understand that they love what they're doing. They want to be with us. It's not about money, but in the same token, we have to be, have to meet some of those needs. Because inflation is hard. Our hygiene control, all those issues are going well. We're seeing a number with our dentrix system. So I can give you the numbers of all, we did 180 dentures last year. The year before was 250. Now you say, are they not getting in? No. That demand, we've taken care of it. And generally what I'm seeing now are more broken dentures, or maybe a tooth is extracted. They need another partial or something like that. But from an epidemiology standpoint, it's what I was hoping we would see is that number is going to drop. I mean, we'll always have some, don't get me wrong, but we've met that need, I think, really, really well. Not everyone, and I'm certainly not the most perfect dentist in the world either, but we really really have a good team and very talented. Some of the other programs that we've started, we've been expanding. I'm excited to tell you and thank you for your support. 2 new chairs are going in across the hall from Dr. Burke's quiet room there in Polson. Fortuitously, somehow we put in a door that goes into that hallway when we did that HVAC project for diseases, so we can, a containment room. Well, it just happens to be a door now that goes into that hallway, and across that hallway is where those 2 chairs are going to go. So I'm really excited about that because he can use those chairs. We should expand our capacity for kids. Dr. Burke's going down to Mission one day, but we're going to be hopefully addressing some of those issues as well here in the near future. So all of those pieces are looking good. We twisted some arms and we've got funding. We're doing, it's called interceptive orthodontics for kids that need they're young. And if you expand their palate and get their bite at a young age, they won't need full-blown braces. That's pretty exciting. So these things, like you heard with the tree removal, we're playing with those. We've got contracts finally, because every orthodontist doesn't want to mess with some of that stuff. And so we've got a couple of them involved, and it seems to be going really quite well. So, yeah.
Gary, I just wanted to say, you know what? I know when my kids were young, I had to get into their IAM accounts, which was really hard as a parent because it's a parent's responsibility.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing here is that a lot of kids won't have to do that because of the care that's being taken of their teeth right now. And so I think it's just critically important. Everything that you're doing is like, it's not out of the box, but it's like really making it critically important to parents to know that if you just take care of their teeth, there's so much more can happen in their healthcare. I mean, positive things. And so I just can't tell you how appreciative I am of everything that you're doing, especially with Dr. Burke. And I know he goes to the hospital and does, the surgeries, but
once a month.
I'm wondering also about the kids that do need braces. Is there a chance down the road that you may be able to funnel those children through tribal health rather than, I mean, there's dentists in Billings and everywhere else that gets this money from these kids that have all of this money in IIM to use for their dentistry. And is there a chance that we would be able to take that?
I really think so. I really hope so. I think, so that's why we're starting with the interceptive ortho. Because you can't put braces on a kid that's got decay, right? That's got to be done first. Now, 100 kids a month that are cavity free, they're in great shape to put, some braces on. See, so these are the steps that we're taking. And we may be knocking on your door, or maybe some other thoughts within the tribal health to start expanding those, but you just can't open that door. You got to be able to kind of control that because everybody's going to want it. And I've seen real messes. I've had to take braces off of kids that didn't take care of them. In fact, I wrote that ordinance for the IIM account when I started the clinic over at the college. It seemed crazy that here's this money pot sitting there. Why don't we use that, to cover those costs? And what happened, unfortunately, those that were going to go through that program didn't come through us, which I think we got to go back and take a look at that because that potential is still there. But I'll get calls from dentists. Geez, I've got this case going with IIM, and they need work. Well, once again, we want to be preemptive in that kind of stuff. So we're being delicate with that because I don't want to mess with it too much, but that's our ultimate goal. In fact, Dr. Burke has mentioned he might be interested in getting some additional training if we can get him some help, you see? And so we got all these little pieces going and there are really a lot of positive things moving forward. So I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah, that's a frustration for me. That's why I got into dentistry. Good old Evelyn Hernandez. I don't know if any of you knew Evelyn. Just my first girlfriend down there in Dipton. But she would, the most beautiful person, her personality, but she'd go like this. I said, that's not right. And there were a few other things that happened that I was blessed with good hands and a lot of support. Graduating second in my class of 11. We were just talking about Charlo, my buddies up there. So we're really excited about some of the things that we're doing. We're not perfect. And the bottom line is you guys are my ears too. So don't hesitate to let me know if you hear some issues or problems, because that's how we make it better. And I'm very, very excited about that. We're doing our Head Start. Varnish prevention is huge. That's what's making a big difference. The fluoride varnish, Head Start, all those programs. But it takes manpower and it takes some money. And in fact, we generated $2.5 million last year as a program. But we've got some expensive dentists. We got assistants and hygiene. I mean, boy, it's expensive. But in the big picture of a person's life, it makes a huge difference, especially with kids. And all of us, we know that beautiful smile is really important. And that's my commitment. We got into Hot Springs. I was telling Mike that. How many did you screen? Was it 100? Yeah. So before it'd be like 4 or 5, they forgot to get the forms out and those things. And it just, you got to keep knocking on the door and those things are happening. One thing though, we need your help with is registration, Medicaid. We've heard that, right, Jennifer? If they're not signed up, it doesn't matter. And those dollars, I hate to say that, but are really important to, that's why I've been able to expand the program. It's my lever with Joe. We're making this money, but more importantly, our patients, our community needs these services. And so I think that's about it. And we just started, same thing, we're testing, a real problem I've had with elders is the lower denture. The upper denture can stay in really quite well, okay? But I've got 5 cases going with implants to help hold those dentures in place. Because a lot of those elders have type 2 diabetes, and chewing and eating and all that stuff is really, really important. So it seems to be going well, but I've had some say, yeah, it's kind of painful. Nobody told me about that. See? And I've had a couple say, no. So we're just testing that process out, see how it works. And anytime we have somebody come in with because the ridge just disappears. And so there's nothing to hold it in place. So once again, we're trying to expand other services and unmet need that's out there that could make a difference, I think, for the majority of our community. But anyhow, that's a quick update where we are. Any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Pitts? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Gary, for coming in. And I really want to thank Tribal Health for the expansion you've done in the dental program and important service that you do for all of us. I know you guys had a paradigm shift with emergency walk-ins, trying to schedule those better, more effectively, and for that. I still get calls about that in particular, because you asked if there was something.
Yeah.
So I just wondered maybe if it was possible to just dedicate maybe one day a week where people could walk in, or even have, talking about unmet need. When I look at healthcare, it's 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And so I always think of our limited paradigm, trying to just operate during normal business hours or 8 to 5 or something like that. And so any shift of healthcare
One of the-
services to Saturdays, Sundays, evenings, that would be, I think, beneficial.
I knew he was going to bring that up. Saturdays or Sundays. No, I understand what you're saying, Tom. Part of the problem is you've heard me before, we're just moving out of the pandemic. So not that I'm sidestepping the issue of emergency, but just like the gentleman that showed up, we got him in. Part of the problem is just when you've got all the chairs full, and now with these two, they're putting the equipment in those two rooms on Monday. So that's going to start. That's going to give me another chair that we could do something more judicious about that. But part of the concern is the limited space that we have. We saw 50 patients, last Tuesday. I mean, practically every day in Polson.
I think, Gary, that just goes to my point of spreading it out through time and days of the week. So you're squeezing everybody into one spot in time. Whereas if you lengthen that out through the 7 days of a week, you might find empty chairs or maybe a better service. I don't know.
Possible. My problem is we've got such a great patient base. They show up. Before we had slots, that you could work some, and don't get me wrong, we still work people in. The average in tribal country is 35 to 50% broken appointments. We might have one because people recognize the importance of that space. And so, but we've made that. I take care of the walk-in patients. So if you have a toothache, I can point some fingers here. We'll take care of you. So, like I said before, if there's somebody that is not getting in, they're having a complaint. I chased one down in Mission. It's like they didn't do anything. Well, when I checked into it, they just didn't want to quite go in at the time that they had. Now I have a problem when we say, oh yeah, you got a toothache and we can't get you in for 3 weeks. That's not good. Totally agree. So yeah, we're going to take a look at that whole process, and that's a good recommendation, Tom. That maybe are you saying like define like an hour early in the morning where it's walk-in?
Not a full return of what you did before. I think your model's good. It's just when we talk about unmet need, an unmet need is providing health care in the most efficient way you possibly can and service every day, every hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the one paradigm that changed in animal health care was a veterinarian service that opened up in Polson up there. I think you know the place, the Aloha. And they're open in the evenings.
Who is?
And on weekends.
Who is?
The veterinarian, Aloha. It's right there by Taco Bell.
Oh, okay, on top.
Yeah. So because there's a need for that. Because not everybody can get time off of work. They can go on a Saturday, they can go on a Sunday, they can go in the evenings.
Sure.
They open up at 5 in the afternoon. They're closed. Their weekend is like Thursday and Friday, I believe. So that's a service that's providing for an unmet need. And so a lot of folks may not have the leave to take, be able to make it to an appointment during their work schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And so all providing an alternative to after hours or on the weekends, I think is an expanded services that are needed. It's whether or not you can figure out how to do that with your existing workforce and how you blend that in.
Yeah,
You know, that's the critical issue.
that's the problem. You just nailed it. It's that workforce. It's all those issues. It's not a simple, we did do an evening clinic. Did you know that 10 years ago? Yeah. You talk about broken appointments. Interestingly, people just did not want to come in. Things would happen at work or whatever, family. Kevin was pushing that, you know, so we said, okay, let's try it, see how it works. And it was just, we were able to meet those needs. We're open on Friday. And that takes care of that. We get a few more broken appointments on Friday than we do during the week. Guess what? There's basketball games. Geez, I gotta go to Libby and follow my kid. You know, I mean, those are things of life. But, you know, Dr. Burke is the first dentist that we've added to our numbers in 12 years. So I'm after Joe to try and expand that. But boy, just trying to find one, even if he agrees with me. Because we can do some of, I think we can, I mean, that's another thing we could set up for sure. Yep. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Dr. Pitts.
Thank you. My pleasure, sir.
Happy New Year.
Here we go. Like we said, hang on. It's going to be an interesting year.
Okay. Well, you know, there's other jobs that we can take on there. Dr. Pitts and Mr. Campbell back there, we can strap on our old climbing gear and start moving some of these hazardous trees as retired smoke jumpers. We could do that.
You guys take care.
Well, I have a PowerPoint of it, but I just didn't know who was presenting because there wasn't a name on it.
Patty, can you cover the expanded eye care stuff? Oh, okay.
Good morning, welcome. Happy
Good
New Year.
morning. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of go over the tribal health paid care program, the optical services changes that have happened. And let's see, okay. So the purpose of the change was to provide funding to eligible recipients for corrective lenses following an eye examination by a licensed eye care provider. We aim to establish the tribal health as the primary care provider for routine eye exams. We do have legal protection, the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act, or IHCIA, the Fair Debt Collections Practice Act, FDCPA, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA, provide protection against improper billing and collections for IHS-approved purchased referred care recipients, PRC, which is also known as PHC, paid healthcare. We typically, the reason that the legal is brought up is so that balance billing doesn't happen, because we see that where quite frequently a recipient will receive a balance bill, and we're protected by that, our recipients are. The policy and effective date, the THPC program established and maintained services for paid care recipients to receive medical optometry services for conditions such as glaucoma, diabetes, related eye care. And they made this effective July 1st of 2024.
where all routine eye exams will be provided by Tribal Health as a program service. The Tribal Health will provide purchases of eyeglasses, contacts for approved vendors for THPC eligible recipients, as long as funds are available. The recipients can receive contacts and or glasses with the approved benefits ceiling for eyewear. That's all dependent on the budget that's decided. And the benefit details, the benefit amount will be determined annually following the budget review. The initial benefit will be $425. The recipients will be responsible for costs that exceeds the TH contribution, and any unexpected benefits balance cannot be banked towards a future purchase. So if you go past that, there's no way to take anything and move it forward. We do have some vendor relationships. The policy for purchasing eyewear will be implemented through payments to approved vendors. This policy establishes vendors' relationship and is not intended to provide cash payments to individuals. Everything will go through Tribal Health and our vendors. No refunds will be issued for eyewear and or contacts purchased before the effective date of this policy. Eyeglasses purchased before the policy's effective date may not be traded for an alternative pair. Eligible recipients may select eyewear from the TH optical program or at a TH approved vendor site. Self-referrals are not allowed, and eyewear is only available at approved sites. The eligibility and responsibility recipients must update required recipient information annually and apply for the alternate resources available, as TH is the payer of last resort, as we've been talking about for probably the last week about Medicaid and getting our recipients on some sort of insurance to assist with that. Eligible recipients are responsible for verifying the current list of optical vendors under the contract to provide eyewear. Elder recipients, define those as the age of 65 or older, can update their paid care application by calling the paid care program or updating the required information with the tribal care coordinating program and other staff members.
Carol?
I know Tom McDonald, Vice Chair, had brought up the idea of having identification cards that you carry so you don't have to go in and, right, Tom, didn't you say something about this? And not having to re-register every time or every year.
Right.
So I think we need to really consider something like that. I don't know, maybe you want to expand on it, Tom, but I just thought, wow, that's a brilliant idea, because I know how tiring it is to say, why am I not in the system?
Right.
I should be automatically in there, I'm enrolled or whatever the case may be. And so I'm thinking a card might be beneficial and have it last a year or 2 years, but
Okay.
I know the address is always the important thing where you have to make sure they are qualified for it, but certainly there's gotta be a different way than to have to go through that whole process.
Again. Okay. I'll take note of that and bring it to attention. And then program management, the THPHCD manager will review all optical expenditures quarterly to determine continued program sustainability. If optical expenditures exceed available funding, the THPC division manager will present modified service recommendations to the TH department head 90 days in advance of any service reduction. The appeal process is any recipients can file an appeal for a denial of services or payment with the Tribal Health Paid Care Division Manager, and it will be acted upon within 5 business days. And that's all I really had. It was just a brief update of the changes that are going to be moving forward. Is there any questions or feedback? Thank you.
We appreciate that. Patty?
I just want to add one thing, that we welcome Mary Rose to the Tribal Health team as the new business manager. We've been waiting to get that position filled, and just very glad that you're here, and that you were representing Joe and giving this presentation this morning. So he would have been here, but We wish him well on his trip and go Bobcats. So this is the time of the year that if you're a Grizz fan, and I am a big Grizz fan, I'm going to root for the Bobcats for this game. So there we go. The other thing that I do want to say, and it's been talked about a little bit earlier, and that is really the importance of, thank you, of Medicaid. We cannot stress that enough. So the reason that optical and dental and these programs have been able to expand services from what they've had in the past is really because of the revenue that we're able to bring in from Medicaid. So those those eligible tribal health beneficiaries, those patients, really our goal is if you're low income, we should be registering you for Medicaid so that we can bill and we can continue to expand health services. So that really is our message. I feel like I should be looking this way to the membership. Councilwoman Finley, you asked earlier, who do they call if they want to learn about Medicaid and get registered? When you call Tribal Health, ask for a Tribal Health paid care advocate. Ask for an advocate. There's a whole team of them. Yes, they're headed up by Patrice Kayai, who is my daughter. But they'll get you to the right place. They'll get you registered. It is a process with the state that we have to go through, but it's a very important revenue source for Tribal Health. So thank you.
Jennifer and then Tom.
Just before you leave, did you just want to do also a quick update about Red Shield 8?
Sure. So I'll just give kind of the high level overview. Red Shield 8 Nations is a newly developed nonprofit. They were moved into nonprofit status in March of 2024. And what it is representatives from the different tribes are sitting on a board to develop a statewide tribally run treatment center. At this point, the staffing plan is in place. All of the governance documents for the tribes are in place. There is some schematics happening with 7 Directions, which is an architectural firm out of Seattle, headed up by a Crow tribal member. Little Shell Tribe donated land, I think about 15 acres for this treatment center to occur. And they also have donated just under $900,000 to support the efforts moving forward. Next steps is that the board of directors will be putting together a funding plan and to begin to run a capital campaign to garner funding to begin to build this facility. So there's a lot of work on the ground that has happened in a relatively short amount of time, in about 6 months. We just received our IRS designation as a nonprofit, which means that we can apply for funding, federal funding. And it's moving. So I'm really excited to be able to give a high-level overview. If you'd like, in the next quarterly meeting, I can bring you some of the schematics and kind of give some visuals about what is to come. Within the time frame, we are estimating 2 to 3 years. We have to raise the funds first. But then to begin the building, that we'd be able to open services within 3 years. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Patty, in relationship to people making sure that they're current on their applications, like Medicaid, that qualifies you also for food stamps and other things also when you do that?
Correct, it does.
So it's like one-stop shopping, so it's a critical thing to do.
Absolutely.
And not only for, that revenue we generate, I mean, Medicaid is so important, so Medicare B, and so is private health care, veterans, whatever it might be. I know that's Tracy's been working on making sure that tribal health is the payer of last resort. And let's get that money out of everything else that we can. Let's squeeze the turnip as much as we can and expand our services, get it cost-effective programs. So I appreciate that, but I wanted to make sure that people knew that when you do fill out for Medicaid, that covers it for so many other aspects of services you might qualify for. It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you bringing that up because not only does it look at those types of services, it does reach across the board for services for that are really geared for low-income individuals. So for us, one of our other programs is early childhood services. If you are a recipient of SNAP or food stamps, you automatically qualify for our early childhood services and don't have to fill everything out all over again. So a lot of those service programs are linked in their qualifications, trying to make it, it's not exactly a one-stop shop, but tried to make it easier for those individuals that are trying to access those services.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Mary Rose. Danielle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to the optical, I've had a couple people say they've had some issues. They've had established care with a provider that's not at Tribal Health, and they've already gone through several appointments, and they're ready for an operation or something. And then with this transition, I guess, that happened, they're getting told that they have to go back to IHS first before they can continue to be seen with the other physician. How do they overcome that obstacle?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will get it and I'll get back to you, to all of you to kind of see if we can work that out a little bit, to streamline that a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing those up because whenever you kind of implement a new extension or add-on, there may be some bumps in the road. That sounds like a bump in the road that we can certainly iron out. Thanks.
Carol?
I think one thing we need to make sure that we're clear on is that it's not IHS, it's tribal health, only tribal health here. Even though we get dollars from IHS, we don't. We're a tribal health facility. And very proud of that because, you know, a lot of tribes don't have tribal health like we do. We're lucky.
Sam, you have a comment? Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Mary Rose. Happy New Year. I think we're ready for you now, Dan.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council, and tribal membership. So here today to give a few updates on their water rights work that the tribes have been doing in the legal department and in the natural resources department, as well as an update from one of our attorneys on the dog ordinance issue. First off, I'm going to hand it off to our lead attorney on the water rights litigation. Who will know she's also an MSU grad and a U of M grad. So very talented individual working in our legal department, Melissa Schlichting, and she's remote today and couldn't be with us today. But Melissa, go ahead.
Thank you. And Dan's right. I do have the distinct privilege of being both a Bobcat and a Grizz. So every Bobcat Grizz game I love because I win no matter what. But this year I'm happy to see the Bobcats go to Frisco. Good morning, council. It's an honor to be here with the membership. I am sorry I could not be there in person today. I'm in Helena, spending the holidays with my family, and it is really coming down outside with a lot of snow. So I appreciate being able to appear on screen. I wanted to provide just a little overview of where we are with the compact litigation, and I'll give a brief timeline of events. I want to remind everybody that the compact was passed by the state legislature in 2015. It was approved by Congress in December of 2020, and that also had attached to it appropriation of funds. The Montana Water Rights Protection Act, which is the act that adopted the compact federally, provided that the secretary would execute the compact on behalf of the U.S. government, and that finally happened in September of 2021, which set off the implementation effective date under the compact. Following that, we were required under both the compact and the Montana Water Rights Act to file with the water court to enter the compact as part of the general stream adjudication for the state of Montana. We did that in March of 2022, and for the last 2 years, we have been engaged in both mediation as well as active litigation, culminating this year in filing of a large summary judgment motion, as well as responses to over 30 motions filed in the compact case. That resulted in us having a 2-day hearing in November, on November 14th and 15th in Missoula, in front of the Chief Water Judge, Judge Steve Brown. We concluded that hearing in November, and we're expecting that the court would issue an opinion early this spring or summer. But just yesterday, we received a notice from the water court to set aside 3 weeks, starting April 21st through May 9th, for potential evidentiary hearings. We also have a case management conference coming up at the end of this month, in which we'll find out additional information. And so it still remains in active litigation. We do anticipate that even if there will be an evidentiary hearing, which we don't know yet for sure, that we feel very confident that we should get a decision out of the water court this year. In order for us to complete the process, we have to exhaust all appeals. And so we do also anticipate that even upon the decision of the water court to approve or disapprove of the compact, there will be an appeal to the Montana Supreme Court and also likely to the U.S. Supreme Court. Those appeals have to be exhausted to reach finality under the Montana Water Rights Protection Act, which will trigger the release of additional funds. Right now, federal settlement dollars are restricted to only compact implementation activities, including rehab and betterment projects, which others will expand on here today. So I just wanted to provide that as a brief overview, and also, in addition, what is required for finality in order to address that. There are 2 other pieces of things that need to be done in order to reach that final enforcement date for the compact. In addition to exhausting all the appeals, we also have to secure the state funding, which we're in the process of doing, and also to finalize the Hungry Horse allocation agreement under the Montana Water Rights Protection Act. And we have been working with the Bureau of Reclamation and others in drafting that and hope to have that done fairly soon. So we are well on our way towards the enforcement date, which, as I said, will release additional funding under the federal settlement for compact-related implementation, as well as other issues, other projects. So just wanted to give that as a brief update of where we are with litigation. I know we have other members of our water team here to give an update on other timelines and information that are relevant to compact implementation projects. Is there anything?
Melissa.
Ms.
Oh, sorry,
Stanley?
go ahead. No, I think maybe you want to touch on Basin 76L and 76LJ too.
I'm sorry. Yes, yesterday I got distracted by the water court's issuance of our evidentiary hearing schedule because we also are aware that the water court is proceeding with the adjudication of Basin 76L and LJ. So across the state of Montana, the general stream adjudication process has been happening for over 30 years now, or 50 years, since 1973. And Basin 76L and 76LJ, which contain parts of the reservation, 76L having the majority of the reservation, are the last two basins within the state of Montana to be opened for adjudication. And in part, that's because the Montana, the compact between the state of Montana and CSKT was the last compact to get approved. And so once the compact is approved, it will be incorporated into that process, but the water court has been very clear over the last 2 years that they want to start the adjudication process for other state-based water rights. So in simultaneous to preparing for the litigation in the water court and our potential evidentiary hearings, we will also be preparing to both file and defend against objections in the adjudication process of 76L and 76LJ. And in order to do that, we will undertake a very extensive review of the tribe's water rights, including state-based water rights that the tribe has acquired through the purchase of reacquisition of property within the reservation. And so it will be a long, arduous process of helping to identify those water rights, as well as preparing for the adjudication process. And we do anticipate that that will be done. The preliminary decree for both of those basins will be issued in February or March of this year, with the objections deadline being 6 months after that. So we have a limited time in which to review all of those water rights. So for tribal members who have state-based water rights within 76L and LJ, once that preliminary decree is issued, you will likely receive notice from the water court about your state-based water right. That is different from the compact process that is separately happening in the water court and is part of the general stream adjudication for the state of Montana. And we can provide follow-up updates on that as we get closer to the preliminary decree being issued.
Carol.
Yeah, I just want to say, as I had an opportunity to go down and watch our team, our legal team and staff in action in federal court, and I tell you, I was so impressed and so proud to be there. I got to sit up in the jury box with the rest of the staff, so it was an honor to be there. And I want to thank Dan and Melissa. All of you guys are just really awesome to watch, and it really made me proud and glad that Salish Kootenai has the legal team and the staff we do. So thank you.
Dan?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for those comments, Councilwoman Langford. I think Melissa may have touched on this. So for the memberships information, so Water Basin 76L covers most of the reservation except for the area around Flathead Lake, and that extends north, and it follows the little bit of river up towards Highway 2. So, and Basin 76LJ covers the area around Flathead Lake and extends north into Flathead County. So those are the two water basins that encompass the reservation. So just some more general information there. Our next update will come from our supervising attorney for the Tribal Water Rights Registration Office, Christina Corville, and I'll invite her up to give an update from that office.
So it's been a little while since I've talked about tribal water right registration, and we are 3 years into the process. We've got 2 to go, but over there at our little office, we've completed the process of documenting and locating wells that were drilled by Housing or Indian Health Services since the 60s. We started out with about 1,100 wells that we were able to find. And then through ownership updates and, you know, people selling land and things, we're down to about 800 wells that we have documented as active and will want to register under the tribal water rights. So in addition to that, over there at the office, we help tribal members who come in and want to talk about water use that they have on their property and how they could register that under the tribal water right. We coordinate with the Lands Department and the Natural Resources Department to evaluate stock water uses, irrigation uses, wetland uses on tribal property. So we'll be trying to wrap that process up here in 2025. And let's see, and also in 2025, tribal members who do not live on a home site lease will probably be getting a letter from us saying that we found a well on their property. It's not already registered and they might want to go ahead and do that under the tribal water rights. So that's our big task for 2025 is collecting up registration documents from tribal members who had wells drilled by Housing. Tribal members who did not have their wells drilled by Housing, we'd have no way of knowing who everybody, you know, in the universe is that has a well that, you know, maybe they purchased their property, the well was already there. They don't know if it's registered, so they can contact us and we can help them out finding out if it was registered by the previous owner or if they can register it under the tribal water right. So that's, I think, it in a nutshell. We put ads in the paper every other month or so just to make sure people know we're still out there. And 2025 will be, I think, we'll have a lot of communication with the membership and just getting everybody situated so that in 2026, when our deadline expires in September of 2026, we'll start transmitting that data to the Water Management Board and getting it prepared to be imported into the DNRC water query system and so on. So 2025 will be, I think, pretty active and contacting people. So that's it on tribal water right registration. Yeah. Questions?
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, sure.
Appreciate that.
Right, our next update will come from the Natural Resources Department's Division of Engineering and Water Resources. I'll invite Casey Ryan up.
Pasya, o Kisu Kiukit, Casey Ryan, Louis Quest. Good morning, everyone, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of council, and the membership. My name is Casey Ryan, and I am the acting manager of the Division of Engineering and Water Resources. We are housed in the Natural Resources Department, and our office primarily works on the projects that Melissa mentioned that were authorized by the CSKT Montana Compact, as well as the federal legislation, the Montana Water Rights Protection Act. So specifically, our office is charged by Tribal Council and led by our department head, Rich Jansen, to do several key actions regarding irrigation project-related compact implementation. And so those really fall under 3 main categories that I'll touch on today at a very high level. That would be environmental restoration, irrigation project rehabilitation and modernization, as well as water rights management. So I'll start with environmental restoration because that is a high priority in the federal act, and the act authorizes the tribes to perform environmental restoration activities related to the construction or the operation of the Flathead Indian Irrigation Project, or FIP. And so that is specifically prioritized as a high priority in the federal legislation. And specifically, it prioritizes the conservation of water resources as well as the enhancement of fish and wildlife habitat as part of those activities. So a couple projects that our team is working on, and I'll be presenting these updates today, but I do want to acknowledge our staff. We have a great, talented team working on a lot of these projects, and I'm super proud to work with those folks. Our environmental restoration program is led by Tabitha Espinoza, and her staff is working on several key projects right now. One is just west of Ravalli, at the bottom of the hill there on the south side. So the Jocko Lower J Canal is the first diversion off of the Jocko River west of Ravalli. There, we are working on a stream restoration project where we're replacing a lot of hardened rock features that were placed there during the construction of the irrigation project and restoring about 500 feet of stream bank, renaturalizing that, and reconnecting the Jocko River with the floodplain in that area. Also adjacent to that project, we are working on the Jocko River Restoration Project. So that builds on some of the work that's happened in the Arley area throughout the years. This specific project will restore about 3 miles of the Jocko River on the south side of the Bison Range there that was historically straightened and pinned up against the south side of the Bison Range. So we'll look to reconnect the Jocko River with the floodplain in order to improve habitat for fisheries, including the threatened bull trout. Also in the Jocko Valley, we're working with Montana Freshwater Partners on a project on Jocko Spring Creek, and that would convert some weedy lands in that area to more natural native plant communities, as well as restoring some wetlands. Our restoration program is also working at Kicking Horse Dam as part of some future dam safety upgrades that are going to happen at that area. They're working at the Crow Pumping Plant, and they also have, we seek to incorporate restoration into all of our irrigation infrastructure projects that we complete. So every one of the ones that, every one of our irrigation infrastructure projects also has a restoration component. For our irrigation infrastructure program, that's led by Mark Simpson. A couple projects to highlight there. We just a couple years ago completed the restoration at Crow Dam spillway. So those who have driven across Crow Dam in the last couple of years have seen that that has been dramatically rehabilitated to a piano key weir. Building on that, we have a couple active projects. We just completed the channel spanning diversion structure at the base of the Jocko Canyon, the Jocko K Canal, and that includes an important fisheries component. We are actively working in Valley View in the 31A Canal structure. That is actively under construction, and we have recently almost completed construction up at the Falls Creek diversion structure in the headwaters of the Jocko. That is at 90% completion. We have a number of different projects going on in the Jocko Valley. Just one that I'll touch on that's upcoming in the near future is the Jocko Valley North Canal to Pipe Conversion Project. So that is a very large project that the membership will see in the Jocko Valley here in the next year or two. And that is to convert 18 miles of that open, unlined canal on the north side of the Jocko River into a pressurized pipe delivery network in order to conserve water resources as well as to save a significant amount of energy and pumping costs to water users and irrigators in the Jocko Valley. In the Mission Valley, we are working on several projects, including upgrades to the Flathead River pumping plant that includes safety upgrades, as well as working with FIP to address some maintenance issues. We're also in 60% design at Crow Pumping Plant, which has been down for multiple years, but serves as an important source of water into the Nine Pipes Reservoir.
Quick comment, Mr. Chairman.
Question. Len?
I just think it's really important for the membership to know that the tribes currently own all of the land adjacent to the Jocko River from Dixon to Arley. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Councilman Tuteeth. That's an important point. I appreciate you mentioning that. And the last one I'll touch on here in the Mission Valley is the Kicking Horse Dam. Greg Wilson, with our Safety Dams program, has been working on a number of different dam safety upgrades there, both for safety as well as efficiency. And those are going to be happening here in the next couple of years. In the Little Bitter Valley, we're working on some master planning efforts for water conservation and restoration activities. Those aren't finalized, so nothing to share here yet today, but please look for those in the future. Moving on to water rights management, that is led by Seth Makepeace, our program manager there. I'll just touch on the Milltown water right briefly. So the Milltown water right began on December 11th of 1904 as an in-stream flow hydropower right. So that was to generate electricity at Milltown Dam for the Bonner lumber mill. And then when the Milltown Dam was removed in 2008, the state of Montana acquired that water right through the Superfund settlement, and the intent there was to continue to provide in-stream flows for fisheries in order to restore the fishery, as well as recreational uses. So on April 14th of 2015, when the CSKT Montana Compact was passed, that converted the Milltown water right into two separate, active, and enforceable water rights, one on the Clark Fork River and one on the Blackfoot River. It also established that as a co-owned water right, so it's co-owned by the tribes as well as Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And the compact delayed enforcement or deferred enforcement of that water right for a period of 10 years. And time does indeed fly. So that deferment period ends on April 24th of 2025, which is now right around the corner, and why I mention it today. So just here in a couple months, that tribes would be able to exercise that water right if they so chose, as would Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. In preparation for that, in the last 10 years, the tribes have done a significant amount of work engaging with the stakeholders in the upper Clark Fork River Basin, as well as water users there, to provide accurate information to all the folks who are out there, to hear and understand some of those local water management issues, and to continue to work with all of the communities and active water users in the upper Clark Fork River Basin. So we continue to stay very actively involved with the water user community there, and intend to do so, and will continue to provide updates to Tribal Council on that water management implementation. And the last main topic I'll touch on today is something related to the Compact Implementation Technical Team, which was an advisory group set up by the Compact. That is the off-season stock water mitigation grant program. And so that's something that the membership has probably seen the ads in the Charcusta over the last several weeks. What that program is the water compact is going to result in some operational changes at the irrigation project, including some that may impact off-season stock water availability. And by that, I mean after the irrigation season is done, typically September 15th or October 15th. And so in recognition of those changes, the Compact Implementation Technical Team worked on a new funding program for producers who rely on off-season deliveries of water in order to help provide water for their cattle. That program intends to provide some alternative stock water solutions for those folks. The program is being administered presently by the DNRC on behalf of the CITT. We asked them to do that for us. That program will provide up to $4 million in awards to affected producers, including tribal producers. Successful applicants can receive up to $200,000 per project in order to develop alternative off-season stock water solutions. So some example projects could be adding stock use capacity to existing wells, if folks have those on their properties, constructing new stock water wells, developing springs that would be on their property, or constructing new stock water conveyance structures. So that program, the application period opened on November 15th. Applications will be accepted until January 10th, and that application period will close on January 10th. There will be a review period in February, and then successful applicants will be notified in March of 2025. If a tribal member is utilizing a tribal lease through the Lands Department, it's my understanding that the Lands Department is applying as the landowner on behalf of those lessees. If a tribal member has fee land or individual trust, they will need to apply for that program on their own. And so if they rely on off-season stock water deliveries from the irrigation project and they haven't applied already, I would highly encourage folks to consider to do so and to reach out to us or the Lands Department if you have any questions. You can look up more information and apply at cittstockwatergrant.mt.gov. That URL is also listed on the main CSKT webpage as well as in the Chartcusta. If folks have any questions, including tribal members, I encourage them to call our offices. My extension is 6207, and they can also contact our Water Management and Planning Program Manager, Brian Hoganson, at 6221. The last quick updates I had, we've had a number of different open houses throughout this past year to try to provide updates for the membership on a lot of the activities that I just touched on briefly today. Those included two in Arley and Ronan in the past couple months. We have also recently hired an information and education program manager to help us get the word out to the tribal community. So Victoria White, a tribal member, will be starting on Monday, and we're really excited to have her to continue her effort. She's done a great work in the schools this past year to talk to our youth and try to make them aware of all the opportunities that are coming up and recognize the importance of this significant and historic moment in our tribe's history. We were happy to partner with SKC. This was our second year that we've sponsored the welding class through Salish Kootenai College, where folks can come get certification in becoming a welder. And I know several folks have gone on to join a union, so that's very exciting. We were happy to host 4 interns from Salish Kootenai College in our division this past year who worked with our water programs, and we're looking forward to them going on and doing great things, and hopefully some of our tribal membership helping to drive some of the efforts that I talked about here today. And my last update, you've noticed there's a lot going on, and so in recognition of that, we launched a website. So folks can visit csktwatercompact.com, and there you can learn about all of our restoration projects, our irrigation infrastructure projects, our safety of dams projects, and just get general updates on the things that our division is busy doing in order to implement some of these irrigation project related compact implementation efforts. So with that, I'll leave it there. Lem Pesia.
Thank you, Casey. Happy New Year. Don't see any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the council. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Casey. Last, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, our update will come on the dog ordinance from Attorney Stu Levitt. Stu, if you can come up.
Good morning, members of council, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman. Thank you, Dan, and membership, of course. Good to see you in person. Haven't been here in quite a while, actually, and appreciate the opportunity. Talking about the animal ordinance, it's something that's been going on, as many of you know, and I think probably many councils before you for decades. There have been a variety of patchwork issues over the years that have been resolved and many that have not. And here to update you, Mike Wheeler has been the other attorney primary on this. He is actually out of country on a long pre-planned trip, so I wish him the best in a warm climate and covering for him on the whole issue today. The difficulty of summarizing, many decades really of an issue is there's never been a comprehensive sort of approach to it. There have been a variety of efforts done. Years past, there was a animal officer on tribal payroll, and he actually long ago had done an amazing job, and as I'm hearing it, put himself out of business basically by taking care of animals so well and animal issues. The ultimate umbrella problem with the whole thing becomes funding, and then you have a patchwork of government entities, tribal and non-tribal, that no one is able to really step up and do everything, nor is any government able to pay for it all, of course. So you end up with a patchwork of problems as well as a patchwork of enforcement and limited funding to try and deal with it. So the combination of those things plus time, increasing demographics and changing demographics on the reservation,
make it complex to sort of come up with a solution. Various governmental efforts have gone on for years, but because of land ownership, different management structures, and of course funding, to repeat the word patchwork, it has never been fully resolved, and it may never fully be resolved, but we have some ideas here to try and handle a little bit better than it maybe has been, and in particular deal with individual problems as they arise. There have been a variety of efforts ongoing by non-government groups, the shelter up in Polson, ARC down in Arlee, and then the animal shelter in Missoula in particular. But there's other Humane Society and other efforts. Those really can't cover it all. They're not governments. They don't have the resources, nor really the scope within their range to try and deal with it. However, it's important, obviously, to partner with them also. Government coordination has probably been the biggest thing folks have tried over the years. In the last number of years, there have been a particular efforts, a lot of them spearheaded by the Polson Clinic, honestly, or Polson Shelter, excuse me, to try and get all of the governments in one spot. And the last one was about a year or two ago and had some, I think, some really good ideas. But like most of them before it, and that was really just another iteration of the same thing, it failed as it came time to actually try and, one, come up with agreements, and two, and ordinances, et cetera, and two, funding. As that began tapering down, you Tribal Council directed us more or less talking with Lake County folks in particular as the other largest, the next largest government entity, to try and come up with something smaller, and then build up from that. The idea, in theory, would be build it and they will come up with an agreement and some documents between the governments, and other governments can then sort of try and join in and expand and enhance the effort that's being done. And that is ongoing. I guess where things are currently, you could argue is we can write up all kinds of great agreements and all kinds of great ordinance stuff. However, coming up with an actual rubric between CSKT and, for example, Lake County, and then a funding mechanism is going to take a little bit of handshaking and nuances to try and get it done. And that's where we are currently. We've got a draft ordinance potentially. We've got the same type of thing at Lake County. Lake County has been working on a funding structure, and what we'd like to do is use that as a takeoff point to discuss funding with the Tribal Council here, and that'll be coming up in the next weeks and months. So at the staff level, we're moving forward, and to update you that we'll be coming to you in the near future with some further steps. While that's going on, just to make sure it's clear that a little bit on the same track, but a little parallel track, but not the same necessarily, there are efforts going on, and there's an agreement we're working on with the Missoula County shelter, the Humane Society of Western Montana, for instance, clinics and other things to serve animals and feral cats, providing beds and food for members. And those things will be coming forth in the next weeks. We're working actually on trying to get a contract in particular, believe it or not, just to store this stuff. Needing a large space for truckloads of materials that can be given out to tribal members and others in the community. So that's kind of where things are now. I know you get many questions from membership, so it's probably good for membership to hear that, one, you're on it, but two, these are long issues that are not easily resolved. But we're starting yet another iteration with some small pieces that can carry forward and hopefully lead to something. So I'll leave it to you for questions, or members for their comments. But thank you, appreciate the opportunity.
Questions for Stu? Thank you, Stu.
Thank you, I appreciate it, members of council. Dan, thank you.
I know that's our update for this morning, Mr. Chairman and council members. Pending any questions, obviously, but thank you for your time as always. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Yep. Happy New Year. Go ahead, Martin.
I guess for the legislative swearing in on Monday, just for people to know while they're here, we are going to provide transportation, I believe, and a change of duty for staff to go over and encourage our couple tribal members that got on, 3 tribal members that got onto the legislature, and then a few other ones who are friendly to the tribes. So you guys want to go over, it's at noon on Monday in Helena, and let's go fill the gallery with our people in support. So thank you.
Thanks, Warren. You're up, Greg. Welcome. We'll have an ARPA report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Left, and members of council. Good morning, and good morning to the members that are here and viewing online. Happy New Year to you all. The financial strength of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes remains strong and vibrant. The tribes have closed another fiscal year and now the calendar year of 2024 with meaningful cash reserves, liquidity, and investments, allowing the tribes to succeed without borrowing or taking a line of credit from any outside source. The expenses have been balanced with revenue to meet the needs of each tribally funded program and objective. This does not, however, portend unrestrained spending into the future, but quite the opposite. The communications we've had with the field are geared toward measured spending and calculated growth while the tribes and the nation prepare for a change of leadership. We use the term pre-austerity in that we will see pandemic-level funding that will end in the upcoming funding periods, and we're guiding programs to be critical of their budgets and to think clearly about what's possible. The budget development team is again gearing tribal departments to prepare and deliver annual work plans to help define programmatic spending aligned with meaningful outcomes that touch the lives of tribal members, elders, children, and the most vulnerable, as well as outcomes related to the environment and the natural resources under the tribe's oversight. This past Tuesday, December 31st, we ended the period of American Rescue Act funding where we ended what was called the obligation period. We've affectionately called that ARPA funding. And the goal is to exhaust every penny then and not to send 1 cent back to the government. The tribes were required to have written commitments to spend those funds, and the term is obligated, and the spending of those obligations will last over the next 2 years into December 31st of 2026. Each of the directors led teams that helped the tribes get these things completed, and I'd like to thank Patricia Hibbler, Lisa Shords, and Tony Inkashola for the leadership of their departments in carrying out the activities necessary to reach the deadline set by the U.S. Treasury Department. The following is a high-level summary of some of the spending that is associated with those ARPA funds. The tribes received $80,387,000, and the largest expense in that area, the direct member payments, was $42 million, and it was not subject to hold or any taxation. The next largest spending category were home improvements to wells, water, sewer, and septic, which is on track to spend $12 million during the exhausting period over the next 2 years. Another big expense that was a benefit to the tribal organization was that many of the tribal buildings saw improvements to their HVAC, to their roofs, to their windows and doors, improving the air quality and the safety across tribally owned buildings. There was about $3 million spent on employee retention that was also in line with the ARPA-related activities. In the local communities, you'll see some improvements happening. Some have already occurred and some will happen over the next several years. We see a commitment to skate parks in the local community totaling $600,000. We see the basketball courts that will begin to appear in those communities totaling about $620,000. We're seeing some special vault toilets and some other things in the local area totaling about $700,000. And there's a collaboration with SCAHA to do some expansion and building of tribal housing. So there's about $2.5 million set aside for that. Some other expenses were the assisted living purchase. There's been some improvements scheduled to community water wells and systems that's also being scheduled through SCAHA. There's an active effort to provide warming centers for the communities. We call them seasonal member support, cooling centers when it's warm and warming centers when it's cool. There's some supportive housing that's been scheduled that's going to be delivered through Department of DHRD. Over the early part of the ARPA work, we did some improvements to telework so that men and women living in remote areas can remote in and do their work if weather permitting is not safe for them to travel in. And I'm pleased to tell you that we are on track to exhaust all of that funding and to be prepared to have we have obligations in place, and we're prepared to spend all of the money that was distributed to the tribes in the ARPA related plan.
Question for Greg? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
New Year.
Happy New Year to you all.
Martin?
Greg, I just actually wanted to thank you for kind of looking at our funding for our communities and realizing that the essential things like things we take for granted, like toilets and a warm place to be or a cool place to be during the summer, are really important for our families that are a little less fortunate than us. So I appreciate you finding that and then still allowing us to provide the skate parks for all the communities that wanted them as well. And I know that it was something that I think it wouldn't have happened without you doing that, especially in Pablo, because I had other ideas. And then to get a basketball court on top of it is great. So really appreciate those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Well, let's take a quick 5-minute, 10-minute bathroom break, and then we'll have our final agenda item of open floor for the membership. So 10-minute break, and we'll be back at it about noon. We'll call it back to order, and we'll have our final agenda item, open floor to membership. Sam, you're first up. Come on up to the microphone, please.
Yesu Kyokit Koken Makuk. Happy New Year 2025. I wish to each and every one a prosperous new year in 2025 and beyond. First up to bat, and I'm going to hit a home run. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to make my free throws. Make them count. No, I'm glad that each of you get the opportunity to, before we hit that agenda where you lose the crowd. But I'm glad that you each individually as councilmen and councilwomen are able to give us updates of what you're working on. It's far much better than what I seen at the last quarterly. Homelessness, which my cousin Jim touched upon, is a tough thing. We're a pitiful people. And at that time, well, our people's been pitiful forever. I talked about the passing of my Aunt Harriet. And several years ago, she was promised a home and hopefully helped her to solidify her sanitation, she had a hard time getting around as an elderly woman. Those are the things we struggle with today, even that our elders and our people, our folks that passed on. There was a time that we took care of our own. We took care of our people. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. We took care of them. We did what we could. Our dad had to have a new door put in, had to put a new shower in. He might have called them the Mickey Mouse crew, but you know, things got done. He might have been the squeaky wheel of the grease, because he always told us, squeaky wheel gets the grease, son. You oil it enough and you tell people enough, hopefully they'll listen. Hopefully things will happen. You know, I think about the times that we're living in today. Had the opportunity several months ago when I was on my way home, and my sister-in-law actually brought it to my wife and I's attention when we were passing through, and she had this big house. And there's just her and her husband and her 2 children, but geez, they got a lot of room. She foresaw a lot of things that our elders saw. She didn't understand it, and then I understood what she was talking about, because I remember as a little boy growing up with Joanne Tees, Selleck left hand, Pat left hand, Nada left hand, all these elders who've left and gone on beyond us. They told us these things would happen. They told us several years ago what already passed and continues to pass in this COVID. When we get into these leadership roles, and my dad talked about it a lot when he was always coming to these quarterlies, these people become deaf ear. They get on council and they promise you the world, what they're going to do for the membership. And boy, I could remember those times at the lake. Alec and Adeline, Nada, all these elders would get up and they'd just hand you it. And council at the time is no different than council of today. You needed to listen to it and you needed to hear it. But as modernization has shown us, who do we have here today? Just a handful. I'm proud to be a cousin to that man right there. And I'm proud to be an adopted brother to this lady here. Because one of the things that I've always held true to them is my heart. And one of the most things that they've ever respected out of me is because I was like our father and our mother. I take the time to listen, they take the time to listen. And they understand just as what's been spoken. I know Carol doesn't say it as much, but at the same time, I know that she means the same as Len does. She knows that she works for the membership. She don't work for herself. She don't work for you, Chairman. She don't work for you, Vice Chairman. She works for the same people that you ought to be working for, the membership. It's a sad where we've come today. We think about the sadness of the days ahead of us. Inauguration Day, Trump. Well, it's no different than right in here. You're probably Trumpsters yourself. But those elders, those murals I always reflect upon, they saw it coming. Here we are. And like Carol mentioned, you know, about the joy of being able to jump, sing those songs, feel that happiness, making your road. But you can only say so much. I can't tell you what to do. You've got to make that choice. I've done it all my life. I know that she's done it all her life. I know that Len does the things that he says that he's going to do, and he's, you know, we're not all perfect. We make mistakes. We get up, put on our shoes, put on our, you know, our clothing to go to work and do the things that everyone else does. I'd hope that the new year would bring some solace to and some sobriety to why you're sitting in those chairs that you occupy. And that you would sit in there for the membership, not sit there for yourselves. It's sad that that's what it's come to, but it is. And now you just have that handful instead of crowd. And it was said 2 quarterlies in a row by one of the other members who, she's like a cousin because her mother married our uncle, Ruth. She brought it up last quarterly. Here we are again. I mentioned this to Leonard and Carol, but we go deaf ear. Who cares about the membership? There might be 2 who care, but they have 7 others, 8 others that go against them and say, well, we got to see how we're doing on this and this and this and this, and give the report to the people or give the report to us. And now it dwindles to nothing. Hakwasichi. Well, I wouldn't blame you because they put us to sleep too. Chines Lemte, yeah, I'm happy to help better ourselves. We keep doing the same thing over and over. And like I said about what Ruth had mentioned, the last 2 quarterlies, the same thing I'd mentioned. With the membership to come and give their thoughts of what they think needs to be done or what's on their minds and whatnot. But no, it's always last thing on the dish. And by the time it's the last thing on the dish, the plate's empty. It's gone. Those elders that I spoke of at the beginning, they were always here throughout the whole thing. Because they had people who were on council who gave a care, who were like them. We're a different age now. They had Pat Left Hand, they had Sonny Marzo. They had these elderly people who were up there who actually took time to listen to them. They might not have been educated like some of you who are on council. But you know what? They had education enough to listen to their people because they knew that their people counted. You know, what are we doing with our social services? heard everything else about all these different departments that we have in the tribe. Our social services for our adult protective service, our children, it's all chaos. It's all nepotism. It's all just ironed out to help the inner circle. It's not about helping those little children. It's not about helping our elders with Alzheimer's or dementia or those other health problems and whatnot. It's just about oh, let's make a little remedy here. It's not about putting a good rooftop over, God rest her soul, Harriet McDougall and her family's home and making a good home for her. Oh, let's just let it bide by and till she cashes in on the farm. And even after that, nothing happens. That's okay. You got a roof over your head, huh? Probably $1 million roof. Membership out here, out there, they're lucky to have a cardboard box. And that probably makes you proud as council members of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai people. Yeah, it's empty. But I love you. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't say the things that I feel truthfully in my heart, and more so truthfully what my parents always taught us to do. Speak what's in your heart. Don't just, say what people want to hear, because then you're just feeding them and making their ego grow like they're doing a great job. My cousin, who was on chairmanship for a time here, he going through some rough times just like me. Car problems. I can look him in the face and know that he never forgot his people. We were talking about it the first night of the jump dances. We were jumping for our health and we were heading out to our vehicles going home. And I says, yeah, I was kind of praying over the health of our vehicles. You're down to just one car. That's what I had to come back from doing my job out in Kansas, because my wife, her car was getting broke down, so I had to pray for her getting home. So thankfully, Kakatwitnam at the time, who happened to be my parents all the time, they helped me get home. I listened to those voices, I listened to them, and they actually listened to me and make things happen. We have a lot of opportunities here on the reservation, and we're letting them pass us by. And it all started when we created these executive people who you had to introduce themselves and kind of give a little rundown of how things are going. Still, in my books, they're no good. We don't need them. That's what you got elected for. But you don't care what the membership cares about. So why am I tooting my horn again? Well, because you need to make something right. You may need to work for us like Leonard Tootie does, like Carol Langford does. For the last several quarterlies, that chair's been empty. What, can he face the people? Calling sick? I don't care what it is. Accountability. Because you know what? That man back in DC is going to do a lot of harm. And you know what? The majority of you are going to make it happen if you let it happen, because you're not like the other two people that I'm mentioning today who are there for the membership. You're going to trump up and you're going to join Trump and you're going to annihilate us Native American people, and we're going to lose our sovereignty. Sovereignty is something that we need to stand on. And it's sad to see what the one who is absent stood up to the government of Montana for the gaming. But then he gets reelected and, geez, he doesn't even show up to a quarterly anymore. We need to fix ourselves. We need to take the opportunity to move forward and progress as a people together. We talk about the division, and you heard that today. I'm not the only one that spoke it. And we've become divided ourselves. The last elections, now, this is where I'm going to get on my soapbox. I'm running for election, but you know what? You still haven't rescinded those things that you did wrong about those at-large seats. Yeah, my brother, Sonny Boy Loza, might be chaotic sometimes, but you know what? He has got a lot of sense. He knows a lot of things about the Constitution. But did we fix any of that stuff? No. We just continue to roll forward because it makes the 10 of you look good. Doesn't matter what the membership thinks, doesn't matter what the membership wants. It's what the 10 of you, collectively, individually, whatever it is, decide for us. But you have to understand that key point of what I started out with, of what I said Len Tooteeth and Carol Langford have always told me, and they've told me with their own words. I work for you. I work for the membership. So even though I might say that, yeah, I'm running, even though I know that I've mentioned that those things that need to be rescinded, at those at-large things, according to the Constitution of what my brother at one time laid out, the same time that I was running, he had a lot of valid points. But no, you just push those under the rug because you think you're more educated. When the uneducated are about as educated as can be. I learned that from our old superintendent, who called me a Mustang, just like him and my dad were best buddies, and he called us Mustangs, the ones with all the wit. God loves you, and so do I. And membership, for what it's worth, I love you too. And I hope that you all are able to get to your homes safely today and find them the same way that you left them this morning. Ashe Lemlemch. The reason why I came home. Joe Barron, you all remember him? I've been there for your family. Continue to be there because I learned how to do all the things.
Sam, are you gonna talk some more? If you are, you can come back over here then, so they can hear you.
Oh, they can hear me just as well as anybody. Well, yeah, for the record, the mortuary's up for sale. And if we don't do what council has done in the past, drag their feet and do nothing, the same thing that happened to the Blackfeet is going to happen to the Flathead Kootenai Ray people. The Blackfeet didn't purchase what Ralph offered them. For whatever reason it might have been. So we had to sell out to a non-native company, non-native mortuary. And they're just as bad as this monopoly that we have here in Ronan and Polson. Come holidays or come any kind of other thing for native people, they don't care about you. How do I know that? Just recently had a friend of mine die, Eugene Felsman. One like Mary Rose Marshall shared on Facebook should have been half-mast the flag because of the great things he did for the tribe's genealogy. Friends and family reached out to me wanting to know what was going on because we went to church together. And then every time I called the Grogan Funeral Home, nothing. Oh, it'll be out on the website or whatnot. But because it's Christmas, we're closed. And anyhow, I'll get the message to the director or whatnot. Then when the director calls back, it's just like no customer service or nothing. It'll be on the website. Da 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 da. That's what we're going to be dealing with. I know our people need something like that. It's not something you live for to, but at the same time you need to understand that it's part of life, the mortuary business. And I've got the knowledge and I've got the skills, I know I do. I've been in retail for 30 years plus, starting with IGP Americans where Indians grab anything, IGA, Rod Arlenson, Mission Mart, to where I'm at now, Walmart. Sam Walton reincarnated with a ponytail. That's how much I love my people. I want to be there for them just as much as in their happy times as in their mournful times, because you need to care 365 days a year, irregardless if it's Christmas, Memorial Day, Valentine's Day, Easter. We lose loved ones every day. And we need to have that support for our families who lose loved ones. And I'd be happy to be there for them. So I'd hope that council would quit dragging their feet, quit depending on these 5 executive people to do your job, step up and do something. Because there are people like me who are willing to go that extra mile for our people. Lemlems.
Thank you, Sam. Stephen? Borjo? Come on up. Good afternoon and Happy New Year.
Is that on? Thanks for allowing us to be here. Happy New Year's. All right, I'll start off with just introducing who we are. My name is Stephen Morzo, enrolled member of CSKT Tribes. I am a person in recovery, recovering addict. I have been for 5 years, 3 months, and I'm a participant in recovery, basically. That's who I am. Now, what I do is through the guidance of Don Roberts and the NARS program, the opportunity is provided. I am a graduate of the 20th Judicial Drug Court System. I am peer support certified. I went to RCM for 30 days, graduated at that treatment facility, and today I am now a residential coordinator of our sober living homes, which we have the village. It's 28 units. We have the SOS house, which is right across the street here for females and children. And we got a non-tribal affiliated women's house called the Scooby House on top of Polson Hill, which is a 7-bed facility. That's who I am, what I do.
Hi, good morning. My name is Shay Ashley. I am also a person in recovery, 4 years, 6 months. I am a first generation descendant from the CSKT tribes. I am the compliance manager for Never Alone Recovery Support Services. I am also a graduate of the 20th Judicial Drug Court from Polson. I am also outreach director for the Never Alone Recovery Support Services board of directors, and I am also I do the compliance for the village and the SOS house and the Scooby's house. And also, we had just started crisis response team through CSKT College.
Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of council, thank you for having us. My name is Levi Clatterbuck. I'm also in recovery. I have 2 years, 3 months. I am, as well as a graduate of the 20th Judicial Drug Court System. I found my recovery through NARS. I've been a part of NARS ever since I began my recovery journey. Enough so that I've been a part of the team now. I'm with Shay here, who's my cousin, to do the mobile crisis response and the outreach, as well as some of the media stuff that we do there in NARS, and a few podcasts and some advertisements, and try to help keep the community involved in what goes on at NARS through some of the social media and through some of these outreaches here. So thank you for having us.
Not used to this yet, so my mom, Michelle Morzo, is a great help in helping me navigate the computer system. So is Deslyn Brown. She works at NARS also. So my mom helped me put this report together that was meant for housing. I have not yet learned how to go into there and edit things. So that's why it says, Dear Jody. And I got some writing on there because I don't know how to navigate that yet. I'm just learning. So I just want to let you guys know kind of what's going on. We have recently invoiced the Salish Kootenai Housing Authority approximately $138,000. These monies are expended towards employee salaries from September 21st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024. As you may recall, our staff works with Recovery Village in direct interactions with residents. This time, the funding is supporting 6 staff members in both full-time and part-time capacities. In addition, we are able to fill 2 important payroll slots, a hub director, a drop-in center, peer liaisons. As a direct result of SCAHA funding, we're now paying $255,000 annual in payroll. So Jody Perez has given us the opportunity. I'll have a better report next time I come here about statistics and stuff. But a brief history of the Project 30s. We used to call it the Dirty 30s. It's where unfortunately I did all my drug activity when I was in active addiction. It was my stomping grounds, and they could not house people there because people did not want to be there. It was the main source of the drug activity here in Pablo, Montana. And so like a lot of it was pretty vandalized when we started working with it, boarded up. And today, so that's a little bit of history of it. Today, we call it the Clean 30s. And we, so the following will be a waiting list. Females, we have enrolled 18 enrolled CSKT members, 24 enrolled other tribes, 6 descendants and 15 Caucasians. That's the females. Males, we have 14 enrolled CSKT, 16 enrolled other tribes, 2 descendants and 9 Caucasians. That's just a rough estimate, really. There's a lot more than that. Our system went down that we was using. We moved to a new system, and so we lost a lot of our information. I do know that we've been there about a year in the village, and I know that those numbers are bigger. But right now, the residents there, we have 16 enrolled CSKT members, 5 descendants, 7 enrolled to other tribes, and there are also 9 children living in family units with parents. It is fenced off now and has, I believe we got 9 security cameras around there. We're under full surveillance at all times now. Our parking lots, our roadways, our hub, Mission Valley Security just installed all that. That cost us like $12,000. We also have Sierra Coon, which she is one of our paid staff. She is SOAR certified. That means she can help people get on Social Security that need to, that have disabilities. She's certified to do that. She is also certified to do a Circle of Security class, which is a CPS acceptable class to help parents get their kids back. Rick Green also runs an anger management class there. We got plenty of other classes and meetings that go on, and like I said, later I'll have a better list of that. We have also provided space, opportunity, life skills, and recovery support for 7 families to reunite, and they are working strongly on their recovery. When I was, this is kind of a last minute thing. My mom was like, "Hey, they're running quarterly. You should go in there and report." I was like, "Hey, man, that's a good idea." So, those families, when I wrote that down, man, that brought joy to me. In 1 year, we've reunited 7 families. That's huge. That's huge. These are all people that were running the streets. They were homeless and going house to house, and every one of these, and then these parents were stripped of their children, which makes it even harder. And when we get stripped of our children, we run harder usually. And these guys came to us and wanted help, and we put them into a program that has proven to work. And I mean, the statistics right here show it. And it's just, I mean, I never thought 5 years ago I was sitting giving you guys a report like this. I go to drug court every Thursday still with Carol, and I get to sit and argue with defenders, prosecutors, the judge, and not go to jail. Just the steps that we have made through NARS, and Don Roberts has provided that opportunity, and yeah, it's been great. Just wanted to let you guys know what we got going on there. So thank you very much.
Excellent report, Stephen. Excellent. Really glad to hear that. Questions or remarks? Carol?
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in and giving the report. It's definitely been a godsend. I mean, everybody that's involved. I mean, you go over there and you see all the people that, before nobody was around, but now there's so many people that just want to be a part of this. And it's because of your attitudes and your desire to show people that there's a different way. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate each and every one of you. I mean, it just means so much that you're bringing a community together. It's not me, it's what you're doing, and you're out there and proving it. So thank you. Thank you for living it.
Thank you, Carol. We usually put on, like recently, we just did, Thanksgiving and Christmas there. And instead of going, like me going to my mom's house, she's been coming there to participate, and we had that building full. It was amazing.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and congratulations on your sobriety. It takes a lot of courage to change. It's a really brave thing to do, and it's harder in ways that I can't even imagine. So thank you for that. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and it's inspiring, and you're inspiring lots of other people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you guys have certainly made a difference in the community. And I do appreciate these updated reports. They're really good to see. These numbers are good to see. I remember at one time the Pablo Project was a place you just stayed away from, you know. Now look at it. You guys have turned that around. And there's a lot of people in there, including my brother. My brother lives over there now, and I just really appreciate the work that you guys do for him. He's turned his life around, and then not only that, everybody in the community, tribal and non-tribal, addiction attacks everybody. And but I just want to thank you guys all for coming in today. It like I said, you guys have made a difference. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, Shay, Levi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Martin?
Just want to thank you guys for the DHRD event a few weeks ago. You guys were the main people setting up and tearing down, and those kind of things are always important for, just to get involved and show how much you guys are doing. So thank you guys all for what you do.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Troy, come on up. Welcome.
Like an amateur. Chesachalt ches sichinal tumsh chupen upesia yele. The reason I'm here, and it kind of dovetails into what Sam was speaking about towards the end, and as most of you have learned by now, Gene Felsman has passed away last week. Sam was kind enough to call me the day of when he had found out they were planning a trip over to Helena, and he realized that he had passed sometime that morning. So I was asked by Gene's brother, who lives down in Blackfoot, to get a key from the funeral home and see what I could do to find his DD 214 discharge papers. And upon that, I had realized how much work the place needed. He had had some mini strokes, and I think it really affected his functioning day to day. So this past week, I've been spending quite a bit of time going through, first of all, just cleaning the place, and then figuring out what was important genealogy work, and what was just, he saved everything. Charcustas from like 1981, in case you're interested, he had them on, he had them in storage, and anything else, receipts from years ago, just that kind of person. The reason I come to talk to you today, though, is that Gene had made it clear in the last year that any of his work he wanted to hand over to the Confederated Salish Kootenai tribes. He's a very proud tribal member, and the work that he did was really for love of the people. And basically, in the last 5 years, he had done so much covering the Salish Kootenai that he started doing work for the Blackfeet Nation, Shoban, Rocky Boy, Spokanes and Kalispells. Just amazing, and I'm blown away. And I, as many of you know, I dabble in it, but not to the extent that he did. So I did talk to Jody Perez, or we texted back and forth, and I had told her I was looking for some volunteers. Jean's son has 2 boys and came up the last 2 days with their mother to join me in helping clean, which was helpful because it had been just myself. And I related that to her, and she said she volunteers, so we're going to meet up tomorrow. So that's pretty cool for the director of housing to step up like that and help me out. So with that, what I would hope is that council will be able to discuss this perhaps Monday, and decide what you guys think is the best home for that material. And it's a lot. So housing's been very helpful to work with in terms of giving me a little bit of time to get all of this situated and then be able to dispose of things that were just newspapers from 1989, that he had stored up. He studied obituaries copiously every day, so that's the kind of person he was. So with that, I don't want to take too much of your time, but if you can have that kind of discussion and think whether it's supposed to be here or the college, perhaps enrollment, whatever the case might be. So, but he will be missed. And Sam, I can't thank you enough for letting me know. That's nothing you want to find out through social media, folks, and you guys can all understand that. So I'm indebted to Sam for calling me first. So with that, Lemlem.
Thank you, Troy. That's our agenda. We stand adjourned.